Hi everyone, I'm so happy that you're here to join me for the Way of the Animal podcast. I have my husband Alastair here for a conversation, and we touched on the topic at the end of the last one because it was just creeping into what we were talking about, and we decided a whole podcast devoted to it would be an interesting topic, and that was about beliefs, and I said about limiting beliefs, you know.
I mean, I suppose beliefs don't have to be limiting.
No,
they can be empowering as well.
Exactly, so we'll just call about beliefs.
It'd be nice to have a lot more empowering beliefs than limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Is there somewhere you want to start?
Well, this is the place that I really enjoy. I find limiting beliefs and the whole neurological stories you tell yourself, the way your subconscious interacts with your real world, I find it a fascinating subject, and read a bit and done some courses and things on it, and I find it fascinating, and it's almost, from the outside, it's almost laughable that you can tell yourself a story about not being good enough at something or not being able to do something, and your sort of conscious brain's just like, okay, yep, that's the way it is, and you can't step outside of it.
Well, I would say, firstly, you can step outside of it, but I think the most important thing is to be aware of the beliefs.
Yes, well, that's the thing. Yeah,
the stories.
Once you're aware of the stories, you can change the stories. But all of us, myself included, have plenty of stories that we're unaware of that dictate our lives, that have been created by probably something that has no bearing on the actual story, some weird interaction where your subconscious came up with this concept that's totally false that then limits you in some way. And that is that just baffles me. It's like, it's amazing that that's how and if you could change them to only positive stories, only empowering stories, how different would your life be?
Exactly. I mean, this is I'm just realizing how big this topic is, and there's so many tangents, and as much as I don't want to control where this is going, I was thinking, should I try and stay on topic? But I think the first thing is that I've been doing a lot of work with subconscious connection in the last few months, and it's been really fascinating connecting with subconscious. It's a bit like the hypnotherapy, do a lot of work connecting with subconscious, which you've done before, whereas I'm doing muscle testing to connect in with questions for yes and no answers. And it sometimes it is hugely amusing how the subconscious is. and I think something that I mean, this is a massive topic, there's so much to talk about, but the subconscious is very literal and takes things at face value and doesn't always understand there's more to things.
It's that thing I always like to say, that your subconscious is the smartest dumb person around.
Yeah. So and I have to hit on that because it's really smart, because the work that I'm doing at the moment with the healings that I'm doing is connecting to the subconscious, and the subconscious is able to tell me through my questioning and the muscle testing what needs to be healed, what's
the problem,
energy problems within and I focus a lot on animals, so within the animals that I'm working with, within myself, I can also work with my own subconscious.
It's amazing the power that it has and the knowledge it has. So you can do muscle testing in people for allergies.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of you know about it, but you can do one where you raise your arm and someone tries to push it down, and if you say something that's truthful, then you can resist them easier, and if it's something that's false, then you struggle to resist them. And the same works for foods. You can place a food in someone's hand, and if they're allergic to it, it's easier to push their arm down than it is if they're not allergic to it. And that can go one step further, and you can have them imagine the food in their hand and then do it. So that's your your conscious mind telling your subconscious mind, oh yeah, this food is here. How do we react to it? And your subconscious goes, oh, well, I know we don't like that food. But you don't actually know that you don't like it. It's amazing how gifted and how intelligent and how truly in sync with your body your subconscious mind is.
Your subconscious knows you better than you know yourself, by far.
Completely.
And your subconscious, though, is the one that's believing the beliefs.
It's the one that comes up with these stupid stories that limit you because it thinks that it's doing the right thing.
You know, with animals in your life, you know, that have sort of a fear about something. I'm trying to think of an example, but have a fear about something. The fear can, so, you know, especially I'm thinking of people who have adopted rescue dogs as well. So you don't know what their past is about. And sometimes you can assume that the dogs, talking dogs, because I say animals and I go straight to dogs because
they're your favorite.
They're my favorite animal. They're my main passion. I have many of them. Is that you don't know what's happened. So you can quite often assume like, oh, they must have been beaten terribly and that's why they're afraid of that. And actually it could just be that some random act happened at the time when they were interacting with whatever they're afraid of. And their mind has created that link of, this is dangerous and now I'm afraid of it.
Yep, completely. And it's amazing how your mind makes those links. And actually one that I'm thinking of right now is scented products.
Yes.
Yes. You know where I'm going with this one?
Yes.
So for us personally, we had poo bags for the dogs that had, what was their scent?
I think was it vanilla?
Honestly, I don't even know what their scent was, but their scent was dog poo.
Yes.
Because it didn't smell like dog poo, but all I needed to do was smell one of those poo bags and I could smell dog poo.
Yeah.
And I could smell, but the association had been made, the story had been created in my subconscious. This smell means dog poo.
There was nothing worse than that as well, because I'd have a roll in my handbag, and then I've just like my handbag smelled wrong, even though there wasn't. I didn't put poo bags in my handbag. I just put the empty poo bags.
Yeah, but then you get a waft of that smell, and you instantly think, "Did I step in something?"
Yeah.
Like, and you're not even smelling it. And that's one of these weird associations. I'm sure other people will come up with plenty of them. This weird association that your brain makes with two things that are unrelated. I mean, I suppose they are in the product, but you know, I know in my conscious mind that scent is not dog poo. But my subconscious is like, oh no. That's dog poo. I know that one.
I know that smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. I was thinking, going back to the healings that I'm doing at the moment with the muscle testing as well, is that some of the things you can come across as there's something the subconscious wants you to release is programming, broadcast messages. So that can come from TV programs, you know, movies, from video games, from music. You know, these things can just make some I won't say weird, but it's like an unusual link in your mind. It's like for some reason it hit you at that point and it's stuck and it's now created a little belief in you that isn't helpful anymore, you know. And
of course that's the thing with those genres that you mentioned, you know, TV, video games, music, and linking back to hypnosis. Hypnosis puts you in a state of being very receptive to ideas and suggestions, and that's how you get someone hypnotized and then thinking they're a chicken. Because you tell their subconscious, when you hear this cue, you're a chicken. And the subconscious is like, yep, okay, no problem. So when you're watching a video or a movie, whatever you're doing, you actually get yourself into that hypnotic state. And that's what good books, films, and music will do. It will get you into a hypnotic state to be able to really affect you and get you absorbed into it. And then you're fully open to suggestion. And then some line or something your subconscious might decide, that sounds like a good idea. And often they're not.
No. It's so that's how, like, that's why we've gone into subconscious, is we've been talking about a lot of your beliefs come from your subconscious, making connections, learning things, seeing things, hearing things from other people, whatever it is, those beliefs come from there. And then some of them you don't know about. A lot of them you may not know about. It depends how aware and connected to yourself you are. And certainly when I started taking a look at myself on a deeper level and connecting in with who I am and all those beliefs, I started to become aware of them. And like I said in the last podcast, not doing things right was one of them. There's a lot more.
Yeah.
And I think it's first step is becoming aware of them, because what you notice in the language that you speak to yourself,
yes,
is repeating those stories.
Yeah.
And we all know when we repeat things, we remember them better. So it's just you're like putting that programming back in.
Yep.
You're not rewriting it. You're just putting. That's where you've maybe heard of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP.
Yep.
There's a lot of people doing that as a therapy to help people, because of the negative programming that you have within you, those beliefs that aren't helping you. I've worked with one, Amy, and she was really helpful in totally awakening me to that.
To the story you told yourself.
The language I used on myself, I need to do this. No, you know what? I get to do it, It's like just simple words that you're using that you don't even realize are impacting you, like not just mentally, but energetically. And that makes me think of the experiment with the water, when they were freezing the water. And they were I think they had like people who are trained in energy healing and in powerful intention, and their ability to send the thought waves in a positive or negative way. So they would freeze the water that had been inflowed with negative thoughts and ideas and negative things, and then they did ones with positive. The negative water, when it froze, was just like a mess and not very pretty and things like that. And then the positive was just like flourishing
ice crystals.
Thank you, that was the words I was looking for. I'm really ruining my ability to describe that, but it's the power of thought and how it can affect water. So we're made of water.
Yeah,
can affect ourselves. So it's that idea again of how we're talking to ourselves.
Yeah, and that whole thing that comes on to the ability to sense and feel externally from yourself, which gets into an even bigger topic than just the stories we tell ourselves.
Definitely. But I think the thoughts that we have and the way we talk to ourselves, and it goes beyond ourselves, but it starts with us.
Yeah.
How we're being starts with us. So if we are telling ourselves negative stories, we're creating that negative energy within ourselves. It actually lowers our vibration, our frequency, our energy. And so we're then attracting in more of that type,
Yeah.
If you are in a room, I'm going into vibration and frequency now. If you're in a room, you play like a note on a piano, a guitar in the same room will harmonize and play that. So it's like has to be the string note, obviously. Oh God, I'm really ruining all these.
That's an interesting
under
story.
Pressure. No, it's my ability to recreate these, whereas what I should be talking about is the real life things that I know that I've experienced, rather than ones that are told to me within books that I've read and things. But it's about your energy and your vibration. And so if you are berating yourself, you're lowering your energy and vibration to a level that's, and I can always
that's like the thing of like going into a room of people and them bringing you down.
Yes.
It's that idea. If you go into a room of people and everyone is
complaining,
negative and feeling low or whatever it is, if it is I don't like the word negative, I like unhelpful, but if it is a lower vibration or unhelpful, then you tend to fall into that. Whereas if you go into a room that's full of people having a great time and party and having fun, it tends to lift you up to that. Which that's how we can affect others around us and our environment, just by how we are being. But I suppose with the stories we tell ourselves, it's more about how to change from that unhelpful headspace to a helpful headspace. And one of the ones I think is that it's the turning around from unhelpful, and you hit on it before, of the I need to do this, no, I get to do this, which then turns it into perspective. It's like, is this something is this a negative perspective or is it a positive perspective?
Well, it's even so much as I used to say my anxiety, like it was mine, like it was mine to suffer through. It was mine, but it's the anxious feelings within me. It's not my anxiety; it's the anxious feelings, and it's just simple words like that. That was Amy, helped me to see that that's what I was doing. And when I say the anxious feelings, that way I can release them. They're not mine anymore. They're something that I can get rid of. I can allow to go,
definitely
let go of.
And these are like simple things you could do, and it's the same. Get up in the morning to go to work. Oh, I have to go to work this morning. But if you change that to I get to go to work this morning and pick out some random thing that you like about it, your day is completely different.
You know who taught me the most about my thoughts and what I'm thinking and how it affects outcomes and what's going on in my life? Is the animals. And I will always go back to them because this is the way of the animal, and the animals can teach us so much about how we're being. And simple things like animals use their sixth sense connection, this energy connection. They can read our thoughts and our feelings and the way our energy is. They can also see pictures that we have in our mind. And they're a bit like subconscious in that they're quite literal. So a really simple analogy that I use a lot is, and I can even use one of my own dogs, Pip, used to be really terrible for jumping up at people. Always jumped up at people. So when people came and I was thinking, oh no, don't jump up.
She was hearing
jump up, and I was picturing in my mind
her jumping on
them. So basically I was telling her, go and jump on them. So that's the power of my thought, the power of my mind was encouraging my dog to do the thing that I didn't want her to do. So I had to reprogram my mind. It's like reprogramming your beliefs. I had to reprogram my mind to think of something helpful that I wanted her to do. So I decided that what I'd like her to do is sit. She sat, or the other one that was really, really simple was just all four paws on the ground,
Yeah.
Stand or sit. It depends how you want them to be. And I would just picture that. And I wouldn't say, don't jump up. I wouldn't say, I'd just be like, four paws on the ground, or sit, just sit.
Just in your mind.
Just in my mind, just thinking that when people came. And not doing that, oh no, just clearly thinking that and that only. And actually, I was talking about this a couple of years ago now. She doesn't jump up anymore, and I can't remember when it stopped.
Yeah. It's just no longer a thing that you have to think, but you did have to go through changing your story, your belief.
Every time I thought the wrong thing, I had to correct it, and just
being very aware.
Yeah, and it's hard work, but it's worth it. Now she doesn't jump up.
Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't even, obviously gradually she would get better, but then I don't even know the point where I didn't have to think about what I needed to tell her. Yeah. There was a point where I didn't have to constantly be saying to myself, pause on the floor, sit, pause on the floor. It became, so it's the same thing that we can do with our beliefs is, yes, it's hard work. You have to keep looking at what you're saying to yourself and the words you're using, the language you're using, know what the belief is, know what the positive way you want that belief to be changed into. They use the word affirmations. So you can create your own affirmation you repeat to yourself before you go to sleep, when you get up in the morning, just to try and reprogram, or anytime you hear yourself saying the negative or the unhelpful belief that you had, to then say the positive one to counteract it. And then before you know it, it'll have shifted and changed. And there's much deeper work within that.
Oh, yeah.
But if you start with what you're saying to yourself, what do you think?
Start with this. I agree.
Simple.
If you can, and you can change the stories that you tell yourself, you have to be mindful of that. You have to kind of be aware and realize the story you're currently telling yourself. Then realize how you can shift it to how you'd rather tell yourself. And then focus in on that like you did with the dog. And eventually, now here's the interesting thing. Maybe you still do, in the back of your subconscious mind, picture the 4 legs on the ground.
Yeah.
But it's no longer a conscious act. It's just that's your belief now, is that when she meets people 4 feet on the ground.
Yeah.
So you're still doing it, but your subconscious is taking the message and like, okay, yeah, I've got this.
It's like driving. You don't really concentrate on driving once you've learned how to drive. Your subconscious does the driving. It just becomes a backseat thing that happens, you know?
That's it. It's just something that's taken care of for you.
Yeah.
Which is, again, how clever and amazing your subconscious is.
When you program it with the helpful beliefs and the helpful ideas that help you to be who you are.
It is very interesting. And I like the methods, like we mentioned before, about muscle testing and things like that, for discussing things with your subconscious. And when you get someone very good at muscle testing, and it doesn't have to be muscle testing, there are whole different, in hypnotherapy, they call it idiomotor responses. So you can do a thing where you put your hand on the table and get a very light hypnotic state, and then you can use reactions in your fingers, sort of unconscious reactions in your fingers, to have your subconscious answer and communicate. And they're accurate. Quite often the conscious mind is unaware of the answer that will come, and it is a surprise to them as well. And that's kind of fascinating, that then you can sit down and kind of have a conversation with yourself, not like a crazy person, or maybe like a crazy person. But you can sit and have a conversation with yourself and be like, oh, what do you think? That's what you think about? Now, the limited to yes or no answers is usually the thing, but...
I mean, I've found this work just fascinating, and I feel like the subconscious quite often has a sense of humor. And it... like doing that kind of work where I'm doing the muscle testing involves a lot of trust in where the subconscious is taking me. Sometimes it's a huge program of series of questions that you can ask to get answers, and it's really fascinating where it goes. But when you go through the sequence of where it goes, of all the things that are ready to be released from you, like, oh yeah, now I see, now
I understand.
On the journey, I'll be like, what? We're going here now?
This makes no sense. Yeah.
And then, there's times where it just makes me laugh. It makes me laugh because it's like, yep, I can see why that was causing that problem. Yeah. And sometimes I laugh because it's like, oh, that's funny how it's done that like that. It's just like how the subconscious has got to the point where it is at. It's like, oh, we really went an interesting route, but now we're there, And
it's the funny thing with the subconscious too, because what the subconscious's job is to keep you happy and alive and safe and look after you.
Yeah, safe is like one of the biggest things.
Safe is what the subconscious wants for you.
So that's why quite often I think that we stay in our comfort zones, is because the subconscious can be the one going, nope.
Don't go out there.
That's unknown. Don't do that. I don't know how to cope with that. So, here I am, out of my comfort zone, recording podcasts. And we've done a lot of out of comfort zone activities in the last few years. And it's been equally terrifying every time, but it's showing me that I'm less limited than I thought I was.
Yeah.
And that really, whatever happens, you can do anything and figure it out.
You can. What I found with it, and one of the things that I'd been doing, and I should do more of, is Wim Hof's breathing techniques. And in that, you take so many breaths, 30 breaths, and then you hold your breath and sort of rinse and repeat, which is very good for you. Studies have shown how great it is all for you. The thing I found most interesting, 1.5 minute breath hold. If I was struggling with it, if I just completely silently and in my head said to myself, it's okay, subconscious, this is fine, we can hold our breath for this amount of time, it's good for us. If I change the stories that go through my mind to the this is fine, we can do it, the breath hold's suddenly really easy. Whereas the thoughts when I wasn't,
I need to breathe.
Say,
It'd be like, I need to breathe.
It's not even controlling them, but I wasn't being mindful of the thoughts. It was, I can't do this. I need to breathe. We're meant to be breathing. Breathing is what we do. Keep doing it.
I always say to my subconscious, I'm just practicing holding my breath. It's good for me. I'm just practicing. It's okay. I'm just practicing. And
like, it's weird because you couldn't, and the words I used for mine was, it was okay, it was safe, it was good for, like, I had to tell my subconscious that don't worry, I'm not that stupid. I've got this. I can handle not breathing for a few seconds.
I mean, for me, who's struggled a lot with anxious feelings, is that like the power to tell yourself that you're okay when you feel like you're about to lose all reality. And it takes a lot of strength, but again, it's a bit like practicing with the dogs. Like, you can learn to help yourself calm down and feel better when you're anxious. In the same way, it's just telling yourself you're safe, everything's okay, you're safe, and you can even create more empowering affirmations within that allow you to just instantly feel better. So when you're safe, it's kind of halts it, but you don't always get out of that space and feel better initially. So you can
the thing that pops into my head is that's that thing they do with the military and training is that sort of breaking down someone and putting in a pre-programmed set of responses, so when in high stress situation you revert to your programming, which is what you're meant to do.
And breathing is like breathing and focusing on breathing is one of the best ways, because part of the anxious and the anxiety and the panic attack side of it can be not breathing. You stop breathing, so then your subconscious feels you're not safe because you're not breathing. It's like your whole function of staying alive is not working properly at this point. But we're going into a whole other topic.
Well, I've got a couple of interesting things to think about at the end.
Go.
So you talk about it and how much your beliefs can hold you back from things, and how when you free your beliefs, I'm a firm believer if you can do anything. I wonder what the limit is. Like, imagine your subconscious was completely on helpful stories and unlimited ability, and that's what its strongest belief, like, where would
There's
you be?
There's no limit.
That's what I'm saying.
That's my belief. Yep. There's
unlimited ability. And if you truly believe, where could you be?
It's unlimited.
It's unlimited.
Yep. You could be anywhere and doing anything you want. I truly believe it. And you see people touching on that, doing incredible feats because they believe they can. Well, thanks again, Alastair. Another interesting conversation. And oh my gosh, when we start doing these, we start creating new topics within it. So it's really exciting.
It's just a rambling wormhole.
It is. It's great.